Hi again. So after you're done watching the lesson on the 3 regions that we learned about today, click the next button at the bottom of your page. You're going to then open up your OneNote notebook, and I'm going to direct you as to what you need to click. Make sure that whenever you click on your OneNote notebook that you click your name at the top of the screen first before you do anything else. So you're going to click your name, and then you're going to click Regions Notes. You're going to make sure that you're on the Coastal Plain page. As you do your notes, you can either enter text or you can use your drawing tool. You also, if you have your school computer, you want to use your touch screen to help you out. You can pinch and spread apart the page to zoom in and zoom out, because if I zoom all the way out, I can't really see my notes. If I zoom in, I can make it nice and big to be able to see it. I'm going to be using my drawing tool for a lot of the things just because it's easier than typing. So if you click draw up at the top, make sure that you select a pen and click draw with touch. I'm going to use my stylus. If you have one, it makes it really easy if you have yours from your computer still. So I'm going to first fill in this box that says, that has an arrow pointing to coastal, because we're going to define what the word coastal means. It means it's near the ocean. And then I have already drawn an arrow pointing to the word plain, because this one was a little bit of an error. So we're going to define the word plain, and we learned that it means low, flat land. Now, if I'm going too fast for you, you can pause this video. That's what makes online learning pretty cool. So I need to scroll down on my computer, so I'm going to go over here and scroll down a little bit. There's some instructions in this box right here, so I'm going to read them. It says, create a compass rose on the map of Virginia. So I'm going to make a compass. I'm going to draw 2 arrows going up and down, call that vertical, and then 2 arrows going horizontal. Now I'm going to label them with north, east, south, and west. Or you can use a trick like never eat soggy waffles. You're going to want to draw a map, or a compass rose on any map that you use to help you out. So I'm going to put a little check mark because I made the compass rose. Then it says color the coastal plain green. So I'm going to come up here and get a pen that's green, and I'm going to color my coastal plain green. Don't forget about our eastern shore over there. So I'm going to click my pen again, and I'm going to check off that I colored the coastal plain green. Then the next one says color and label the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. So I'm going to get my blue highlighter, and I'm going to color this Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean up here. Then I'm going to come back to my black pen, and I'm going to label CB for Chesapeake Bay, because Chesapeake Bay really can't fit in there. I can't write that small. And then I'm going to write AO for Atlantic Ocean. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to check it out. And then my last thing says color over the fall line in red. So I'm going to get my red pen, and I'm going to color my fall line that separates my coastal plain from my Piedmont region. Remember, that's where all the waterfalls happen. So I'm going to check that off. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to scroll down, and now we have some fill in the blanks with some information from our lesson that's going to help us. And we can always come back to this page if we need help answering questions or we need to study for a test. You can come back to the Coastal Plain page and read over your notes. So the first blank says the coastal plain has blank land. I'm going to write flat because I know that the coastal plain has really flat land. The second thing says the coastal plain is located near the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. Now remember, I'm writing with my pen on my screen, but you can just enter text. You guys learned how to enter text last week. You can just click to enter text. So if you would like to enter text, you can click home up here and just type to enter things. So I'm going to draw, but you can always go home and enter text. But I think drawing is a little bit easier. So relative location. Relative location means describing somewhere while talking about something else. Like, is it close to something else? Is it near something else? Is it far from something else? Is it next to something else? So the coastal plain is east of the fall line. Because if I go up here and I look at the coastal plain and I look at the fall line, the coastal plain is east of the fall line. The blank is the natural border between the coastal plain and the Piedmont region. That is the fall line. And then it is where blank prevent further travel on the river. That's waterfalls. We saw the picture of the waterfalls in the lesson. So now that we've completed the notes on the left side of this page, you are going to zoom out. You on your own are going to complete this table over here. So you're going to use these orange pieces down here to drag them to the correct box. We have, where is the coastal plain? Describe the land. So what does it look like? What kind of land? What water features border the coastal plain? I see features, so I'm thinking there's 2 in here. And then what land feature prevents travel in the coastal plain? So you're going to drag all 5 of these pieces to the correct box. I'm going to be able to see where you drag them to see if you got them correct. You're going to do that on your own, or you can pause this video here and do that. Once you're done with that, you can click Piedmont. Then again, I'm going to use my touch screen and zoom in on my notes just to make them as big as I can. I'm going to come up to the top and I'm going to click draw. I'm going to select my black pen. You can select a color if you'd like, but we're going to put some colors in the map. So black is the easiest. So if you remember from our video, Piedmont actually means something. Can you think about what it means? It means, and we're going to put quotes around it, land at the foot, that means bottom, of the mountains. Because think about your foot on your body. It's at the bottom of you. So this means land at the bottom of the mountains or land at the foot of the mountains. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And I'm going to go back to my draw tool. And I'm going to follow these directions again. So it says create a compass rose because remember, on any map, we want to make that compass rose so we know what's north, what's east, what's south, and what's west. And remember, never eat soggy waffles. So I'm going to check that off. And now I need to color the Piedmont region yellow. I'm going to get my yellow highlighter. And my Piedmont region is that second region, that huge region. And I'm going to color it yellow. I'm going to go back to my black pen and I'm going to check it off. Remember, if I'm moving too fast, you can pause this video while you color things and toggle back and forth between the pen and the highlighter. You can pause this video if you need. My third bullet says color and label the Chesapeake Bay. Hey, we did that before. I know the Chesapeake Bay is right here and the Atlantic Ocean is out here. And again, it's not going to be perfect. This highlighter is pretty thick, so just the best that you can. I'm going to go back to my pen and I'm going to put CB for Chesapeake Bay and Atlantic Ocean. I'm sorry, AO for Atlantic Ocean. I'm going to check that off. And then my last instruction is color over the fall line in red. Remember, it's right here between our coastal plain and our Piedmont region. And then I'm going to go back to my black pen and I'm going to put a check mark. I did everything in that box. Now I'm going to scroll down to complete my fill in the blank. The land in the Piedmont region has lots of hills. Remember how hilly that picture was? The Piedmont region is west. Oops, sorry. The Piedmont region is west of the fall line. If I'm at the fall line, to get to the Piedmont region, I have to go west. The Piedmont region is also west of the coastal plain. And then the Piedmont region borders. That means that they touch each other. So if I go up here, I can see that they share this border called the fall line. So if they share a border and the coastal plain touches the Piedmont, that means that it borders it. The fall line, remember that fall line, super important. The fall line separates the Piedmont region from the coastal plain. And, oh, two cities, Fredericksburg, that's where we live. Ooh, I'm gonna squeeze it. And did you think about what that star might be on the map? It's a special city. If you guessed Richmond, you were right. That's our state capital. We're going to be hearing a lot about that this year. So I'm going to click home just so I'm not on the drawing tool anymore, and I'm going to pinch my screen. You're going to move these four pieces again to the correct boxes. What does the word Piedmont mean? And we put it right over here. So drag the correct answer. What region does the Piedmont border? We talked about that down here. Describe the land of the Piedmont region. What does that land look like? And then what land feature separates the coastal plain from the Piedmont region? You're going to click and drag. We practiced that last week into the correct box. And remember, Miss Oker and your teacher is going to be able to see where you moved your pieces to see if you did them correct. So if you want to pause the video here and move your pieces, you can. Once you complete your and move your pieces, you can click on our last page, the Blue Ridge Mountains. And again, I'm going to pinch my screen and scroll in and zoom in to my Blue Ridge Mountains. There's nothing that we need to do up on the top, so I'm going to come right down here to my four tasks that I need to do. I'm going to come back up to my draw tool. I'm going to select my black pen because that's the easiest to write with, and I'm going to make my compass rose. Do you remember our little trick? It's never eat soggy waffles for north, east, south, and west. I'm going to check off that I've made my compass rose. And now it says color the Blue Ridge Mountains purple. I'm going to say that this is pretty purple. Is there? Oh, there's more colors. Okay, I'm going to use this purple right here. So if you want to, you can select this little arrow down there, and it has all of these choices. Ooh, a lot of choices. So I'm going to select the highlighter. Oh, and my Blue Ridge Mountain. Ooh. Is there something skinnier? Let's use that. So I'm going to come up here to my eraser, and I'm going to erase what I just did. And I'm going to use something a little bit skinnier because our Blue Ridge Mountains are so skinny. It's a narrow region. So you see, I made a mistake. I picked the wrong pen. I used something a little too thick, and I used my eraser. So sometimes on here, it just might be a little trial and error. So I'm going to come back to my trusty black pen, and I'm going to check off that I colored my Blue Ridge Mountains purple. The next one, we've done this twice already. Color and label the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. I mean, you guys should be pros at doing this. I know the Chesapeake Bay is in here, and I know the Atlantic Ocean is out here. The Atlantic Ocean also comes up here, but I mean, we got to stop coloring somewhere. So I'm going to label my Chesapeake Bay with CB and my Atlantic Ocean with AO, and I'm going to check that off. And my last one, we're pros at finding the fall line. It's right here with that state capital Richmond with the star. It separates the Piedmont and the coastal plain. And I'm going to come back to my black pen, and I'm going to check that off. I'm going to scroll down. Remember, if you're not done coloring in your map, just pause this video. That's the beauty of the online learning. You can pause this whenever you want. The land in the Blue Ridge Mountains can be described as old. That means that they've been here for a long time. Rounded, not super pointy mountains. The Blue Ridge Mountains are a part of the Appalachian Mountain, it's a long one, system. So huge system of mountains that goes from the northern United States down to the southern, and the Blue Ridge Mountains are just a little part of that. The Blue Ridge Mountains are located between the, I remember it borders the Piedmont and the Valiant Ridge, which you'll learn about next week. The Blue Ridge Mountains are the source of many rivers, including the one that is goes through Fredericksburg. I'm going to make that a little bit more clear. I hope you were thinking about, do you know what river goes through Fredericksburg? We're going to learn about it next week. And then relative location, the Blue Ridge Mountains are west of the Piedmont region. Now I'm going to click home again, just so I can get out of that drawing tool. And I'm going to zoom out by pinching my fingers on the screen. And again, you have some information about the Blue Ridge Mountains that you need to drag into the boxes. The first box says, what is the land like in the Blue Ridge Mountains? So what does the land look like? And then what mountain range system is the Blue Ridge Mountains a part of? You can look over here to help you figure that out. Many of these start in the Blue Ridge Mountains. What starts in the Blue Ridge Mountains? And then what region borders the Blue Ridge Mountain to the east? So if I'm at the Blue Ridge Mountains, which region is to the east? So remember, click these and drag them to the correct box. Your teacher will be able to see where you drag them to and make sure that it's correct. Once you're done, you can just click the X and you're all done, and your teacher will be able to see your work.